Welcome to summer 2012. And this is a recording to go over, excuse me, this is a recording to go over the review for exam one. I wanted to take the time to cover a few things that I've gotten a lot of questions in the um, discussion board about or emails about. And the main thing that I've gotten questions about is the assignments, when assignments are due, and how assignments should be done. And for the most part, I think everyone has gotten on track. The DSM assignments were very effective. And I gave everyone feedback on how they did on the DSM assignment. You will be seeing the DSM in your first exam this week, so be looking for that. So real quick, um, as we move forward for the rest of this course over the next 6 weeks, anytime you have a discussion board in the class, the initial post, which is your response to the lecture, is those questions are due by, or responses due by Wednesday, end of the day. And then you should have your assignments, exams, role play videos, anything else that you have that's due should be turned in by Sunday. So your initial discussion board post are what's due on Wednesday. I always say it's good to work ahead whenever you are doing the role play videos, because sometimes when you're doing the mashup to upload it into YouTube, sometimes there is a lag and you won't be able to find it for about 24 hours. So with that said, it's good to work a few days ahead with recording and uploading your videos. So keep that in mind. Now, right now I'm recording this video on YouTube into YouTube, and then I'm going to post it from YouTube into the Blackboard site. So if you have any questions or issues with uploading a video, feel free to email me and I will guide you the best I can. And keep in mind that there is a how to upload a video. The instructions from the very first assignment, which was your video introduction. Okay, moving right on, let's look at the exam. The exam is 50 questions, 50 multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank. I'm sorry, 50 multiple choice, true, false, and fill in the blank with one short answer. Oh, there's one bonus question worth one extra point. So let's look at most of this information is going to be from the first chapters in the book, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. There will be some questions from chapter 15 or 16, whichever book you're in, with childhood disorders, which in the older editions it was 16, in the newer editions it was 15. So you're going to be reviewing information for Intro to Abnormal Psychology and History, Causal Factors and Clinical Assessment, Stress Adjustment, Clinical Disorders, and Anxiety Disorders. Okay. Now the exam is the exam is only on chapters 1 through 5, not on 15 and 6. 15 and 6 will be on the next exam. Exam 2 will be 15, 6, 7, and 8. That's my bad on that. So chapters 1 through 5, what you need to be focusing on as far as studying for the test is the history. There's about 10 or 20 questions that talk about the history of abnormal psychology and what it takes, what the classification system of how we classify mental disorders. There's a lot of talk about how the first hospitals, which were put together to help for the mentally ill, much of how the history of changes through time and our response to working with mentally ill or behavioral health. You want to be able to look at the basics of different types of theories and techniques that are used to work with behavioral issues or mental health issues. You want to know a lot of the history. There's a good 10 to 20 questions that are talk about the history. You also want to know the different types of assessment that there are, what is used in assessment, what the different axes stand for on the DSM, what the DSM stands for. You need to know from the test and assessments, you need to know what different types of assessments are used and how those assessments are used in mental health and behavioral health. You also want to have a good working knowledge of the DSM, what it means, and what the different classifications are within the DSM. There are several questions on that. And then you want to know within assessments, with different types of tests, different types of symptoms that are looked at within a test. You want to know the different types of disorders. You want to have a very broad understanding of the different types of disorders that we're going to be talking about throughout the semester. There is some questions about stress and adjustment from Chapter 5. There's questions about PTSD. You need to know what the term stress is, and there are questions that are involving that as far as stressors in relationships, stress in someone's job, and what type of ways that stress can be manifested, coping mechanisms and such like that. You need to know what stress is as it relates to a disaster and how the DSM actually talks about stressors, what they are. You need to know, I would say, a good history of the DSM, a good history of abnormal psychology, a good working knowledge of the DSM, and then a good working knowledge of the different type of tests that are used, tests and assessments in behavioral health, and then have a good working knowledge of stress factors and the different type of ways that and symptoms of someone who may be stressed. That should have you prepared. Again, the exam 1 is chapters 1 through 5. It's 50 questions, multiple choice, fill in the blank, true, false, and then a bonus question. So that means that each question is worth 0.02 points, 2 points each. I'm sorry, 0.02 points each for a total of 10 points for the first exam, and plus the ability to have the bonus. If you have any questions, be sure and email me, and I will be glad to respond. Overall, for this course, excellent work in your discussion boards, excellent work on your DSM assignment with the vignettes. As you're preparing to work on your child and adolescent role play video, be sure and go to the syllabus and review the instructions in the syllabus because this is meant to be a fun activity. It's meant to be something where you can get some practice in what it would be like if you are or when you become a clinical behavioral health person. It's meant to be 5 or 10 questions or an assessment that you would ask an adolescent or child if you were trying to assess them to see if they have a childhood or adolescent disorder. For example, if you're trying to interview someone to see if they have ADHD, what type of questions, and you would take this from the DSM, what type of questions do you need to ask in order to find out or to be able to see if this child is symptomatic for ADHD? This is so that you can get a feel for what it's like to work with younger clients. You need to post a 5-minute video to YouTube and place the link through the mashup so that we can see it. There is no paper associated with this role play, so I will only be grading the discussion board, and the discussion board grade will be done as soon as this week is over. Right now, we've done so far 15 points to this point in the semester. So if you go on Blackboard, you can see if you don't have 15 points and you're lacking in some area, at the end of this week, you will have 32 points possible done, and I will try and have everything graded middle of next week so that you know where you stand as far as your grades. Happy learning and keep up all the good work.